Yeah, I want to ask you, I want to tee you up on this as we're talking about Beck, because if you look at SMU, the stats that jump out, number 8 in yards per rush against, right? So we know those issues that we've been talking about on the show with Miami's run game. Then you look at turnovers, and this is really this is takeaways, right? So this is just plays where they take the ball away. Number 2 to Louisville, who of course had the 4 picks against Miami, really could have been 5. So when you watch SMU, and I've been able to watch a few of their games now at this point, their weakness defensively is really their corners just aren't that talented. So if you can block it up, get the ball downfield, they're not the best. Their ball skills are poor, and they've misjudged some bad ones, that they're not the fastest guys in the world. I mean, you can get them deep in numerous ways. However, we know the conservative game plan that we've seen really since Beck through those picks, I would say, where you sense, hey, we're trying to get that running game going by any means necessary. We're not only taking what's there, but maybe over-indexing on the conservative side to avoid some of those turnovers. And now you're playing a team that can still turn it over just as well as Louisville, but that is going to be even better taking away that run game and is even weaker on the back end. All that to say, it seems like it's setting up for a do-or-die game for Beck, but a very important game for Beck as a dangerous passer. So where are you on Carson Beck and how we should be using him this week?
I look, there's been a lot of discourse about our offensive coordinator, our game plans, the A gap. I think we have enough experience now to know what the offense kind of looks like when the coaching staff loses. I'm not going to say a lot of confidence, but a little bit of confidence in the quarterback. We remember the Tyler Van Dyke days really well. And let me go on and say this on the front end. Carson Beck is not Tyler Van Dyke. Carson Beck has shown time and time again, not just here, but at a big boy football program over in Georgia, he can shake off interceptions. They're a part of his game. There are quarterbacks like that. Very good quarterbacks that are like that, by the way. My favorite quarterback in the NFL is Baker Mayfield, even though he's turned it around this year from the turnover perspective. I often talk about the notion of a healthy amount of interceptions, especially in a game of real estate acquisition. Oftentimes, Carson Beck turns the ball over on these interceptions that are deep shots that Miami ends up winning in a field position battle. I think that Miami's coaching staff needs to trust the quarterback a little bit more. And that could be something as tangible as allowing the quarterback to check at the line of scrimmage. One thing that I remember from last year a lot was how often Cam Ward would check out of run plays, and the offense was he essentially had the keys to the offense, and the offensive coordinator trusted him implicitly. And we're not seeing Carson Beck make too many adjustments. We know from his time in Georgia, this is something he can do. He can recognize coverages. He can recognize defensive linemen. He can count. And for whatever reason, he wasn't doing that in the first half against Stanford, which was really concerning to me, because that reminded me a little bit of when Tyler Van Dyke had that run where he just couldn't stop turning the ball over. And then Mario Cristobal essentially got involved with the offense and said, hey, we can win these one-score games by having these clean game plans. And I don't think you need to respect Stanford that much. I don't think you need to overreact to the Louisville performance all that much. I think he's a different quarterback. He's an older quarterback. He's mature. Let's give him the opportunity to show off the growth in his game, D-Money. For me, when I talk about the inside runs and the A-gap, I'm only talking about tendency breakers. I understand we're a shotgun team. We're an A-gap team. That's our identity. No one's saying, hey, let's become a speed option team. We're not doing that. Occasional tendency breakers. But really, for me, the main issue was the offense didn't seem to trust its quarterback all that much. And I can't believe we're saying that when just a couple of weeks ago, it was the same thing, D. It was a stacked box. FSU provided the blueprint for all the opponents that followed. They were going to stop the run. And Carson Beck absolutely torched that defense. He's shown you inside of this very month what he is capable of. So trust him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's why you pay him. You look at the stats, you compare it to TVD, right? So TVD, I see the comparison, at least compared to Ward, that his personality maybe, but even then he's really a different personality than TVD. Much better.
They're three very different quarterbacks for loads of reasons, but I hear you.
He's quieter like TVD compared to Ward, but he's much more integrated in the locker room than TVD was. I mean, the locker room likes him by everything I've seen. And then just on the field, I think he's a much smarter player than TVD. Interceptions notwithstanding, I think you look at the record, 30-4 as a starting quarterback, which is basically like a 10.5 win season on average on a 12-game schedule. And that's going to go up if Miami can take care of business here in these games where they're going to be heavily favored. First one being this weekend. So, yeah, I think they're different. One thing that jumps out, I will say this. I said this on the show earlier this week. I could see a world, and you know how it is. These bad experiences kind of traumatize you a little bit, even more than you say. So the TVD experience for Mario, I think, has traumatized him to a certain degree because that was a 10-win team, really, going into Georgia Tech. That we were, with the way the schedule was set up, we were right on pace to be a 10-win team. The offensive line was excellent, one of the better offensive lines in the country. Running game, even though you didn't have great running backs, was fine. Defense was playing better at that time under Guidry than it was the year that followed. So that should have been a 10-win team, but then the quarterback just collapsed decision-making wise, and of course we know what happened with the kneel down. So that I sense that as being a very traumatic situation for Mario. You see TVD throw 4 interceptions to an ACC opponent, Georgia Tech, at home, and you lose. CARSON Beck, 4 interceptions, ACC opponent, at home, you lose. I could see him being concerned that, okay, Beck goes out there against Stanford, even though Stanford, like you said, is not a team that you go out fearing or respecting. You know, first quarter, ball gets tipped and intercepted, the Boo Birds come out. That's not just one interception. The impact of it, given the timing, could be more. So I could see why they were extra protective, knowing like, hey, it's not that they were respecting Stanford too much. It's like, hey, we know Stanford sucks and we're going to beat them pretty bad. We want to avoid losing our quarterback in a stupid game like this. That's what sense I got. There's not information. This is literally just the way
I know that this is you trying to read the situation. And pardon my French. I hear you. I understand the argument that you're making. If that is indeed the thought process, it's a chicken shit thought process. And this is not the quarterback that you should be doing that with. And I think that there needs to be some internal evaluation. This is a program and a coaching staff, might I add, that needs to prove it can win. We look at the last 3 seasons. You mentioned the Georgia Tech game. Season went sideways after that. We didn't know how to recover from that. Nope. Yeah, we got a couple of wins. We had a couple of nice performances, but the book was out on us. Last year, Virginia Tech. We were hoping Virginia Tech caught us flat. It was an outlier. And from that moment on, outside of maybe the Wake game in the second half against Duke, we were riding a roller coaster because we got found out. And the team and the coaching staff, despite not maybe necessarily carrying themselves like it felt like tight vibes. And I'm hopeful that the end result of Stanford with Miami covering a massive spread would indicate hey, we're going to be just fine. But that was a very concerning first half. I was more upset after that first half than I was after losing to Louisville because that's not how you rebound from that. I get it. I get being scarred by your trauma. Every team is new. Every quarterback has been vastly different for Mario Cristobal during his time here. I think he needs to trust that he built out a really good roster. I think he needs to trust that he signed a really good quarterback, a guy that 2 weeks ago was the Heisman favorite, the betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. And I think that the offensive coordinator needs to call some plays that keep some defenses on their heels and empower the quarterback. Not necessarily to the level of Cam Ward, but empower the quarterback more than he appeared to be empowered the first half against Stanford. Again, that's just me reading the situation. This isn't inside information. I'm watching the games just like you, but I think everybody collectively needs to take a deep breath and trust what they've built over here, individually and collectively. The arrow has been pointing up year over year. The time to cash in the chips is now. We know what Miami's high-end ceiling is. They are as good as any team in the country, and they are nearly impossible to blow out. But I think you saw a blueprint in the response to Stanford that shows stubbornness, pre-snap discipline. These are things that are going to be Miami's weakness, and they're going to need to overcome that if they're going to win number 6.
Yeah, and I think every team's going to play Miami the exact same way. I don't think there's any secret to what you want to do to Miami. You want to force Beck into mistakes. At the same time, you don't fear the explosiveness of Miami's passing game right now, other than Malachi Tony. So it seems like, and you want to take away the run, which to me, with the running game, I understand all the criticisms, but teams still try to take it away first. And they put a lot of emphasis to that. And I think there's a reason why. What really concerns me is the fact that I don't think teams respect our passing games as much as I would have hoped they would have respected the passing game this deep into the season, given how healthy we are at receiver, offensive line, quarterback. What I'll say with Beck, and I agree with you. Look, Stanford, that's done. I don't think it's going to be the same way this week. I definitely don't think it should be the same way this week. You're going on the road. You got to win the game. And you got to trust your quarterback. You don't need to protect your quarterback in this environment. This is like not even in the top 40 environments that he's played in. Right?
Or like, what is it? 32,000 capacity at this stadium. This is nothing.
11 a.m.
CARSON Beck. Yeah. Shout out to Carlos Enriquez in the comments. That's what I'm saying.
Big C, what's he saying?
Big C is saying you never win or reach your objectives playing scared. Miami has a lot of things going up against them, namely the defenses that know Miami's tendencies, just like we do in the stands. So Miami's pretty easy to read in that regard. I would hate for Miami to go down and be eliminated from CFP contention or in the CFP because they were undisciplined or they didn't trust themselves to reach their ceilings. And I got really scared because I saw both of those things unfold in that first half against Stanford. I don't know about you, and I know we're trying to turn the page and be 1-0 against SMU, but I left that game more upset. Despite winning by 30 plus because not again. We're not going out like this. We're not going to – I don't want to have bullets left in my chamber. I think that if this team meets its full potential – truthfully, they can beat Ohio State. They can beat whoever. They can beat whoever in the nation if they play clean football and if they trust themselves to make the plays. This roster that Mario Cristobal and his staff have built is that damn good. That quarterback can win you a national title. Will Howard won a national title last year. All right? We're there. We're right there. Don't be one of the things holding your program back. That is my plea. Trust your players. Trust your players until they give you every reason not to. But I don't think we're there with CARSON Beck. All right? We're trusting you. Shannon Dawson came out firing in that press conference. You won't hear another conversation. You heard us. All right? You heard us on the A-gap. We heard you. We are crystal clear. This is my angle on it. Trust your quarterback a little bit more. That cocky Shannon Dawson that was talking about the FSU game, about the corners that couldn't cover, and because he knew CARSON Beck, he devised a game plan because he knew CARSON Beck would torch them. That's the same guy. That Louisville performance doesn't change things. Just tell your quarterback Louisville made unbelievable plays. They made catches of the year on like damn near every single one of their interceptions. Shake it off the way that you've proven that you can. Let's go out there and let's torch this secondary because that's a joke of a stadium compared to where you've done it in the SEC, where you've done it this year at Doak. Come on.
Yes, 6 top 10 wins for CARSON Beck. I mean, you mentioned the example of Howard. If you win 6 top 10 games, I mean, you can make a playoff run. I don't think that's going to be – there's no secret team out there hiding behind the door that has Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, and then 10 first-rounders on defense. That team – even Ohio State, it's just not out there. So we'll see how it goes. I will say with Beck in particular, you look at the Florida State game and another road game, another game where they stacked the box, and you mentioned it. He tore him up. That was also the game plan, right? I mean, it's not like that happened by accident. That was a measure of trust that was there in Beck. I think, and again, maybe I'm wrong, the Stanford was very much with Louisville on their mind because it was just like, we cannot let this continue downward because we saw a whole season go away. So I would expect, and I don't know if it's going to happen or not, that the attitude going to this week is more of a clean slate like FSU, which is, hey, if they're going to give this to us, if the personnel dictates that, they're weak here, we are going to attack and we're going to have confidence in our quarterback to make those plays. We're not going to worry about what happened, 2 weeks ago in a home stadium that is very far away. This is let's do what we need to do to beat SMU and not worry about those picks. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know. One thing I wanted to ask you about, Mike, because when I watch Beck, he is such a quick operator. Everything he does is quick. The release is quick. The hands are quick. He operates quickly compared to Ward, who he could operate quick if he wanted to, but really he didn't want to. He's give me the ball.
He fell in love. He had protection for the first time in his life, and he fell in love with it. I mean, I know from Wazoo that Cam Ward can get the ball out quick out of necessity, but once he got behind our offensive line, boy, did he love playing with those toys.
Loved it, and he would let the guys get downfield. He would squeeze every second out of the play. So just different playing styles. You don't need to have tempo with Ward, although I do believe we played faster last year with Ward than we have done this year, by the way. Maybe it's the nature of the games we've played so far, because those were shootouts, too, with Ward. Yeah. So, it's a little different, what was going on the other side.
We also had a very bad defense last year. I think going into this season, we knew that we had a lot of turnover. We liked the coordinator that we hired. We wanted to play more complementary football. I have to check it, but I think it's only gotten stronger. But we were averaging, as of 3 weeks ago, 3 less possessions a game. Now, a lot of that's on the defense, but ideologically, there's been a shift in how Miami approaches the football game. They could be an inside running team and also be in these crazy shootouts because their defense is no good. Ideologically, when they had a defense that was more in line with what Mario Cristobal wanted to have on the field, fewer possessions because it was more clock controlled to have guys like Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor play 70 snaps on the other end.
No doubt. And even beyond just the game management stuff, I just think playing fast is Beck's style. I think if you want the best version of Beck, speed it up, because when he's in rhythm, he's seeing it, he's letting it rip, he's spreading the ball, and he's hard to get to because you're not going to get to him anyways from a pass rush perspective. Then he gets rid of it so fast. It's how many completions did he string together against Notre Dame? He can really get hot in that way. And against Syracuse, which is not Notre Dame, against Southern Methodist, which is not Notre Dame, or Syracuse in a couple of weeks, against these teams that are on our schedule for the rest of the year, if he's hot like that, those 10, 15-yard completions become 30, 40, 50-yard completions because there's a missed tackle. Malachi Tony does what he did against FSU. There's a million things that could happen when he's getting the ball out. So I would like to see that a little bit, just a little quicker pace, just a little bit more of, hey, we have not only a quarterback that we can win with, but our quarterback is one of the best players on the field, period. So I think it's very much fair to say, and we'll trust him.
There's a comment here that I'd like to get to. Beck was trying to prove to be Ward against Louisville, trying to prove Mike Ryan right. Let's think about what happened against Louisville. Now, I know that Cam Ward had dug the team out of a big hole.
By the way, you relish the opportunity to pronounce that right.
Louisville.
Every time I see a little smirk as you get ready to drop it.
Always. But you guys remember what happened against Louisville, right? Went down 14-0. We got the ball back after the very clear fake field goal that we all knew was coming, that probably shouldn't have stood because Holder's knee was down. But I digress. We got a procedural penalty on our first drive over there, got in the hole. We were down 14-0 before we realized it, and then Carson Beck was in obvious passing downs. Now, if Carson Beck is in an obvious passing situation and Cam Ward is in an obvious passing situation, I trust Cam Ward more. All right? The Cam Ward is one of the all-time greats to ever play at the University of Miami, and he is better at that, coming back when the defense knows what's coming, than Carson Beck is. The key is making sure we're clean. We don't have these procedural penalties that'll drive everybody out of there. We don't have the same kind of margin for error at quarterback. That's fine. He can still be a national title winning quarterback. I hate talking about this guy like he's bad. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. I just think that we need to stop standing in our own way. That comes down to discipline, and that comes down to trusting the quarterback more.